Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our March 14th Madison County Fiscal Court meeting here at Berea City Hall. And I always appreciate Berea and our relationship allowing us to use their space for our fiscal court meetings down on the southern end of our county. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk Barger, if you will, please call the roll.
Master Combs.
Here.
Master Lockmiller.
Here.
Master Hughes.
Here.
Master Botkin.
Present.
Judge Taylor.
Here. At this time, I'd like to invite my friend Tim Taylor up from Wayside Christian Church to lead us in a word of prayer. Appreciate you being here, cuz.
Oh, hey, thank
Yeah.
you, cuz.
Yeah.
I appreciate the invite. Glad to be here. If I don't know if I mind you, I'll rise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rise. Yeah. And let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you this morning, Lord, for allowing us the opportunity to come together, Lord, be together, and we pray for the ones that's conducting this meeting this morning, the Fiscal Court, and we pray that you'll bless each and every one, and each decision that they make, Lord, as they look to you for the guidance and direction that they need. We know there's ones that stand out front and conduct the meeting, and there's also ones behind the scenes, Lord, that allow this meeting to go forward. We thank you for the time that they put forth in their busy schedule, Lord, to set aside their times and serve this community and this county. And we just pray a special blessing upon them and each one that's come out this morning, and pray you'll bless the presentations that's being made. Thank you for all you do for us, and give you the praise and glory for it all. In Christ's name we pray it all, and amen.
Amen. Thank you. Sheriff, if you will, lead us in the pledge.
Please remain standing and face our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, Sheriff. And Sheriff, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Members of the court, y'all have had a chance to look over our previous fiscal court meeting minutes. That was on February the 28th. I need a motion and a second to approve.
Make a motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Master Lockmiller.
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Botkin.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. First order of business today is a Bluegrass Army Depot chemical stockpile update, and we have our very own Craig Williams with us. Good morning, Craig. Appreciate you being here today.
Morning, Judge.
And welcome back to Fiscal Court.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been
Too long.
Yeah, it has been too long. I was trying to remember how long it has been.
I'm not sure about that.
Well, I think I missed the last quarter due to something. I'm not sure what exactly. But I'm here today to give you some really good news. And I hope that you all appreciate the good efforts of everyone that's been involved in this effort. First of all, I'd like to show you this slide. I gave you the handout. You all have a copy of it. We're 75% finished with the destruction of all the chemical weapons stored at the Bluegrass Army Depot. We're also 50% or close to 50% complete with the final campaign, which is the GB rockets. And that campaign is going very, very well. They're a little bit ahead of schedule. They anticipate now meeting the September 23 deadline by possibly a month early. They've already scheduled tentatively a celebration for the 11th of October at EKU to celebrate the completion of the last chemical weapons stockpiles in the United States of America. And Richmond is going to be the proud presenter at that celebration for the end of our chemical weapons stockpile, so we're very proud of that. The economic impact associated with this project, and as many of you know, we are working very diligently to try and mitigate the economic downfall associated with this many workers leaving the area. There have been many, many people involved, including the judge, both mayors, the Bluegrass Area Development District, and others, working on plans to try and keep as many of these highly skilled, highly trained, highly security cleared workers here in Madison County. And we're having some real success on a lot of fronts. I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But as you can see, the acquisition and the staffing, and particularly the local payroll, is quite impressive at $1.235 billion in local payroll since the project began. Needless to say, that's a big amount of money and a big amount of tax revenue for the county and the cities. Efforts to, bless you.
Thank you.
Efforts to, at the project as we reach completion is, I can't hardly read that, and I can't hardly read this. Jill, could you turn one of these lights back on, please? I'm sorry. I just turned 75 on Friday. I can't see nothing. Thank you. The continued engagement in the operations of Aqua and the joint venture via the Governor's Commission and the Citizens Advisory Board. For those of you that know, Dr. Doug Heineman is the chair of the Governor's Commission. He is incapacitated at the moment. He's not doing very well at all. He's over here at the terrace. He's been in and out of hospice. And I visit him once a week, and he has asked me to join him as co-chair of the Governor's Commission. I was in touch with the Commission's office in Frankfurt yesterday to see if there's a process by which we can do that without having to get a new commission set up by the governor and all that. So we're working on that. He sends his regards, and people have been praying for him for a while now. We'll continue with closure. Once the weapons are gone, there's a 3 to 4 year period of closure, which will include raising some of the structures. Any of them that have been exposed to agent will be raised. The rest of the infrastructure is under discussion between the advisory board, the Governor's Commission, the Secretary of the Army, and many, many, many others as to what to do with the remaining infrastructure. Of particular interest are the 2 static detonation chambers, which many people believe can be transferred over to the depot proper and used to take care of the conventional weapons that they now blow up out there. And we believe that that's a real asset for the depot going forward. And we're working real hard to try and make that happen for the benefit not only of the depot, because it'll improve their mission, but also for the environment and the people surrounding the depot who are, I think it's safe to say, tired of hearing explosions and seeing their windows shake and so on and so forth. We're going to continue with the Economic Impact Working Group. And as I mentioned, we're going to be involved in the proposed disposal of the facilities once they are not needed to be used anymore. Regarding the economic impacts and the actions that have been going on, there's a workforce transition team that has been set up by both the depot, the joint venture, and the subcontractors within the joint venture, which is Bechtel Parsons Bluegrass, Battelle, Amentum, and everybody has different people assigned to focusing on how to transition the workforce either into depot jobs or into jobs in the existing economy or into jobs that we can attract here based upon the high qualifications of the workforce that's out there. We've also been working with the workforce retention incentives. We have clarified what incentives are being offered to the workforce to retain them through the end of operations. As you may guess, as things get closer to the end, people that are working there are thinking about what they're going to do next. Well, unlike our site, there are no more chemical weapons stockpile sites in the country. We'll be the last one. And so there's no place for them to go with the skill sets that they've developed in that program. And many of the people here have worked at Alabama, at Arkansas, in Oregon, all over the country at these various sites. But there are no more sites. The feasibility study was part of the National Defense Authorization Act for 2023. Representative Barr got introduced and got included in that Defense Act, National Defense Appropriations Act, and the depot was supposed to have it submitted by the 1st of March, but they haven't quite got it under control just yet, but we're working on it. And there's been some new industries that have noticed the fact that we have a highly trained workforce with a fairly set time frame for them to be released, and they're interested in coming down and taking advantage of that. We've had some meetings with some major corporations, and we're continue on those discussions. There's also been a grant provided by the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, which is a Defense Department entity that helps communities who are suffering from a large defense project moving out of their community, whether it be an entire base closing down or a major operation like this chemical weapons disposal project. That grant has been given to the Bluegrass Area Development District, and there's several local folks that have been working with them along with their consultants, MWM Consulting, to develop a feasibility study to look at all of the attributes associated with the conclusion of operations. Here's some highlights from a draft of the MWM Incorporated project. It's not complete yet. It should be ready to be released the end of this month. As you can see, there's just some highlights there of what kind of workforce we have, some of the numbers associated with the various skill sets. These are very saleable skill sets and opportunities for new businesses to come on in and take advantage of it. Also, the closure work group, which I chair along with many other work groups, has been working with Bechtel, Parsons, Bluegrass, with the Army, with the Defense Department, and others to have a smooth transition from operations to closure to the absolute end of the project. I also would point out that all the contractors, as I may have mentioned, have provided incentives for their workforce to stay through the end of the project. Some of them are very attractive incentives, and based on the last briefing that we had about last week, I guess, the attrition rate has been very low. The workers are sticking around. They want to see the project completed, and they want to, of course, earn the incentives that's going to be provided if they stay around. There are still some positions open right now at Bechtel, Parsons, and at Amentum. If you go to the Bechtel website and click on Richmond, you can see the jobs that are available both by the primary contractor and the subcontractors at that site. I'm glad to say and pleased to report that most of the critical, or all of the critical elements in the workforce are still there, and it looks like they intend to remain there. So that's all I got, and I take any questions, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Yeah, I got, I attended a conference up in Louisville last week. It was on the hydrogen hub work groups. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Because I just, even in Frankfurt, I'd heard the Secretary of the Cabinet of Energy mentioned the Bluegrass Army Depot as a potential site for a hydrogen plant.
Yep.
So that's part of y'all's discussion then?
It's in the discussion, yes.
Okay.
And of course, as you can imagine, Billy Ray, getting anything through the federal government to the Army, down to the state and so on is very complicated, but that particular interest is there,
Yeah.
along with several others that I won't go into all of them, but that has come up and it is being considered.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Greg,
sir.
is there
Hey, Tommy.
is there a good momentum to retain those SDCs? I know you touched on it, and when there's open air detonation at the depot, my phone's ringing. And so that is
understand.
something that would definitely alleviate that. We know that no other industry other than the Department of Defense is allowed to do that.
Right.
And so do you think they'll be able to retain those?
You're asking me if I think they will?
Yes?
I think they will. at least one of them. There are two SDC static detonation chambers there, a 1200 and a 2000. 2000 would probably be more than we'd need for the detonations that we do currently. The 1200 would be perfect for that. They use a 1200 down in Anniston, Alabama for their conventional weapons. We're pushing very hard for that to happen. Of course, it's going to be up to decision makers up the Army chain pretty high up, but I think that there's a good chance. I also am on a steering committee of a national organization that looks at and is trying to move away from open detonation nationwide on military bases and use these advanced technologies. That coalition is also working very closely with Congress. We've had several directives by Congress to have the National Academy of Sciences look into alternative technologies, and SDCs is one of the top, static detonation chambers are one of the top technologies that the National Academy endorsed and that the Army is looking very close at. So it seems to be we're going to intersect pretty good with the national campaign and what we're trying to do locally.
Good. Well, we certainly appreciate you, years of service and your work out there.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. I appreciate that. Gentlemen?
Any other questions?
Just want to thank, Craig, thank you for all the work that you've done. I know when you think about this program, for me, I thank Craig Williams, I thank you for.
That's too bad.
Well, I thank you for your due diligence and sticking with it, because you could have done anything else that you wanted to do, but you chose to do this, so we appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I've been at it 35 years.
I loved it when you see the 1980 pictures of him. They look a lot different than you see him today.
I'd say they are.
You actually had long hair.
Yeah, well, I had hair.
Yeah.
The Army came to Richmond in 1984, and Congressman Hopkins, who some of you may remember, held a meeting at EKU. And there was the first meeting was at the depot when the Army showed up and said, we got these weapons, we're going to burn them, anybody got any questions? So 35 years later, we're finally getting all the answers we were seeking. But it's been a privilege to work. I've learned so much and met so many people. In fact, I'm going to Washington next week to meet with our congressional delegation on some of these issues that we've raised here today, particularly the continued use of the infrastructure. There's about a little over $1 billion worth of infrastructure is going to remain at the footprint where this facility is located. And to just raise all that, I think, and everybody else agrees, would be wasteful. So what can we do with the various components of that infrastructure? So I appreciate that, and thanks so much for doing that. Yes, sir.
Hey, I do have a question, because there's two milestones that I understand that we're looking at here. One is treaty, right? Is to meet treaty, which is what you were talking about. September celebration. I think you said October 11th.
Yep.
But then there's a second milestone that's a surety.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And so when you said the 3 to 4 years of closure, is the surety portion included in that 3 to 4 years of closure? Is that why closure's a little longer than it was?
It is. Anything that has been associated with these chemical weapons, even if it's not an area or a component that has been exposed to agent, so it's technically clean, they still have to go through a process of certifying that in order to accommodate the Kentucky's regulations and the Army's regulations. As far as treaty goes, once that last weapon is destroyed, which is going to be done before the deadline of the end of September 23, the treaty will be satisfied. We will get credit for the destruction of our stockpile. From that point on, it's up to the state and the Army regulations and others to make sure that everything is cleaned up correctly. The parts that get raised and are removed, and the parts that are going to be reused are able to be reused from a regulatory standpoint.
But technically, we still have some agent there. They're just in. The shells have been punched and drained. There's back in.
There will be agent-contaminated rocket parts.
Yes.
That will have to go through the SDC 2000.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is why the 2000 was built, was to take care of the overpacked rounds.
Right.
The rockets that you can't separate are in large steel containers that are 5 feet tall. you can't get them in the SDC 1200, and they don't want to have workers unpack them again and try to figure out how to demate them and then have to put them through the 1200. So they built the 2000 to take care of those. Also, any problem rounds that as they're pushing through these GB rockets, if they run into one that leaks or one into one that's damaged or something, they overpack that one, put it back in the igloo, and it will go to the 2000 as well at the end of the day.
So we're still going to have 70,000. I don't know. Maybe I'm off on the number, but we're going to have 70,000 shells there that have agent stored back in. That's solidified, I'll say, right? That has to go through the SDC. And my point to all this is that there is still. I don't want our community to think, hey, this is over in September.
Right.
Because there is still a reason for a CSEP program. There is still a reason to make sure that our citizens are prepared in case something like that, anything would ever occur that would be bad.
Absolutely, and it's a question of how much. Now the rockets have 10 pounds of agent in each rocket. When they're drained and put back in the igloos, they're going to have a de minimis amount of vapor. But it's still there. CSEP will still be funded, and the community will still have the advantage of all the CSEP funds and what that has provided for our community safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the other thing I was reading, and this last thing but I saw we got maybe a report the other day about Pueblo, and there was a report done on sustainability after Pueblo, and I think their base is actually going away, right? Is it
Their
Brack?
base has been bracked.
Bracked, yeah.
Base realignment. And
Yeah.
Once their chemical weapons are gone, that depot's shut down.
But this study actually did I guess research on what it was actually going to cost that community to take over the radio systems,
Right.
all this, and depending on like whether the state took over portions of the radio system and or it was on that community, it was anywhere from like $3 to $5 million a year cost to that local community, which obviously is passed down to the government, which has got to pass down to the citizens at some point. But that's the impact that when Pueblo is over and closed, that's the impact it's going to have on that community there.
Right. And it will depend on how vigorous they maintain all the equipment that they have that was associated with the chemical weapons. I'm sure they're going to downsize significantly. In our case, it's going to be another process to work with FEMA, who funds CSEP, and the community and the government, the three governments and the state and so on, to see how we can massage the CSEP program into something we can live with, something we can afford, and something that provides the maximum protection for the community.
Yeah.
So it's going to be another series of discussions to figure that out, but that is a good point.
Yep. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it much.
Judge.
Any other questions? Anybody?
Appreciate it.
Appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
so much.
Next on our agenda, we have a guest with us today, Miss Jennifer Lanehart with Hope's Wings, coming to talk about our annual Jail and Bail fundraiser. Welcome. Glad you're here.
I know. Aren't you all always happy to see me this time of year?
This is the only time in my life that I don't care to be arrested. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see if we can get a bunch of other people to think that too.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I come to you a couple different times a year, once around this time and once in October. Some of you are new to me, and I'm probably new to you, so this is your opportunity to ask me any question that you want about Hope's Wings as well, because I always look forward to the opportunity to be able to tell anybody about what we do and what's going on. As Judge mentioned, this is time for our annual Jail and Bail fundraiser. That's an important fundraiser for our shelter because we're not a state-funded program as far as being part of the state coalition, meaning we don't have guaranteed funds every year coming to us like maybe the Lexington shelter or the one down in London has. So we fundraise a couple times a year, and this is just our major one. So I think in this room, how many people are being arrested in this room? Oh, good. So they have to raise bail, and so we rely on our community members to pay their bail. So if you saw a hand go up, you might want to throw some dollars their way because we're asking them to raise $600. in bail. Jail and bail is kind of a cool fundraiser because it doesn't cost us anything at all. And our community members come together and they kind of have a good time. We feed them. Our jail is much nicer than yours. I'm sorry. It is. We're not quite overcrowded and have people sleeping on the floor, and we probably provide much better food. Thanks to our local community members who donate food. So we've got food all day long. We've got an opportunity for you to come down and hang out and kind of network a little bit. We're going to be at Central Bank this year, so you can come in and pay some bail, turn your money in, or just sit and talk and get to know me a little bit in our program. We're yours. And so I want you to know who you're funding and who you're supporting when you donate, or maybe you decide to donate if you never have. But it's important. This year is particularly important because we just had a major plumbing catastrophe. Has anybody experienced major plumbing catastrophe at your house before? Well, our plumbing catastrophe involved jackhammering up 2 of our bedroom floors and the hallway and fixing about 40 feet of pipe, which cost us about $22,000. That's not covered by the insurance. So our jail and bail funds this year is going to be recovering those costs. So anything that you can do to help us is greatly appreciated. Again, throw some money somebody's way, throw it my way. I don't care. But does anybody have any questions about Hope's Wings, what we do, who lives in our shelter? Because some of you don't know us, and we do have women and children that live with us and who are living with us during the plumbing issues. We thought we had that fixed, and then Saturday we had another flood that's going to possibly cost us more money. So, yeah, it's real fun at the shelter right now.
Jennifer, would you tell everybody where your facility is at?
Yeah. If you are from Richmond or Madison County and you know where the local Hospice Compassionate Care Center is, does everybody know where hospice is? We're neighbors. So there, when you're coming down Cycle Drive, they're on the right. We're a brick building on the left. And at any point in time, if you want to get in touch with me, if you've never been out to the shelter, I love to show the community who we are, and I love to give you a tour of the shelter. We just make appropriate. I'm lost. Basically, it's been a long week, you guys. I've been at the shelter since Saturday cleaning up water, but we just like to make the arrangements needed to give tours. So
one thing too, and Hope's Wings has grown in their services. You know, they just did an expansion. What was that, 3 years ago?
About 2.5, 3 years ago, we added on 2 additional bedrooms and an education center to our shelter. So at this point in time, we have a classroom environment where folks from EKU, New Opportunity School for Women, the Kentucky Workforce Development, Kentucky River Foothills, they come in and they bring classes to the ladies who live with us so they can earn their GEDs or certain certificates that make them more employable. We really believe in giving them skills that will help them be self-sustainable while they're with us, because when you can support yourself, you don't have to be vulnerable to somebody else who might not be very good for you. So we really focus on that education piece when people come stay with us. We don't like being just a Band-Aid station. That's counterproductive, I think. So yes, we added all of those things, and we're debt-free, and we're proud of that.
Yeah.
We're proud of that.
Good.
Any questions from anybody?
Questions?
Again, one more time for those of you who are being arrested so everybody can see who to give money to. Okay, fantastic. But it's so nice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you all.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate you having me
Yep,
again.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you a bunch.
Thanks.
Next, second reading of ordinance 2023-01. This is a road department budget amendment. Glenna.
Good morning.
Good morning.
An ordinance relating to the budget amendment of the Madison County Road Department budget. Whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court is responsible for the administration of the county budget, and whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court has realized unbudgeted receipts, and whereas the county treasurer has reviewed the budget to ensure sound financial practices, now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of the County of Madison, Commonwealth of Kentucky, the road department budget be amended by $124,260. And this is the second reading. This ordinance shall become effective on the day of the second reading and adoption.
Thank you, Glenna. You all have heard ordinance 2023-01. Do I have a motion and a second to approve?
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All right, hearing none. This is a second reading, so at a second reading is a public hearing, and we've advertised appropriately. Is there anybody here in the audience that would like to speak on behalf of this second reading of ordinance 2023-01? And we didn't get any comments, too. I know we do comments as well, Jill. We never did receive any comments from anybody. Yep. Seeing none, seeing no public comment at this time, call the roll.
Master Lockmuller,
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Buckin.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. Next, Resolution 2023-23, Household Hazardous Waste 2023-2024 Grant Application. Scott, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. Resolution 2023-23, a resolution for application and administration of 2023-2024 Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet Division of Waste Management, Kentucky Pride Fund, Household Hazardous Waste, HHW, Management Grant Funds. Whereas the Kentucky Energy and Environmental Cabinet Divisions of Waste Management Kentucky Pride Fund Household Hazardous Waste Management grants allow units of local government to apply for grant funding to be used to cover the cost of vendor services for the collection and proper management of household hazardous waste and for advertising costs associated with the collection event. And whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court, Kentucky, desires to make an application for these 2023-2024 Household Hazardous Waste Management Grant Funds, and whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court wishes to authorize the Judge Executive and/or his designee to make application for these funds, and if the application is successful, to enter into an agreement with the Division of Waste Management and administer these grant funds, to execute any documents which are deemed necessary to facilitate and administer the award, to act as an authorized correspondent for this award. And whereas these grant funds must be expended during the grant period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, and whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court is requesting household hazardous waste management grant funds in an amount which will be specified in the grant application currently being prepared for submittal, and whereas there is a 25% local match required, which can be in kind and or cash. Now therefore be it resolved this 14th day of March 2023 by Madison County, Kentucky, the Judge Executive and or his designee is hereby authorized to execute and furnish all required documentation, including memorandum of agreement, as may be required for the furtherance of the above referenced project, and to act as the authorized correspondent for said project.
Thanks, Scott. You all have heard Resolution 2023-23. Do I have a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Everybody's familiar with our Household Hazardous Waste Weekend event we do, typically September.
First Saturday of October.
October, all right. So it's always been a great event, a lot of participation.
Grows every year.
Yeah.
We've increased in numbers, and this is a time that you can get rid of your old thermometers with mercury in them, your paints, your chemicals, pesticides, herbicides. You can bring anything like that at that time, and it will be disposed of properly.
Yeah, I've never seen, couldn't imagine, was it last year or 2 years ago with all the tube TVs?
Last year.
Last year? Man, I can't imagine there were still that many tube TVs in Madison County.
We had 2 dump truck loads.
I mean, it was unbelievable how many tube TVs there were. And I guess people just had them in their garage or their basement or whatever, finally decided those things were just collecting dust,
Yep.
So, it's good. All right, if no discussion, no comments, call the roll.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Buckin.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Master Lockmuller.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Let's see. Next is Resolution 2023-24, Kentucky 911 Services Board Grant Application. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning. I'm filling in for Wendy this morning. who's at a training. So this is a resolution for the application and administration of the 2023-2024 Kentucky 911 Services Board grants, whereas the Kentucky 911 Services Board allows units of government to apply for grant funding to be used to provide upgrades to 911 services. And whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court, Kentucky, desires to make applications for these 2023-2024 Kentucky 911 Services grant funds. And whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court wishes to authorize the judge executive and or his designee to make applications for these funds, and if the applications are successful, to enter into agreements with the Kentucky 911 Services Boards to administer these grant funds, to execute any documents which are deemed necessary to facilitate and administer the award, to act as the authorized correspondent for the awards. And whereas these grant funds must be expended during the grant period of July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. And whereas Madison County Fiscal Court is requesting Kentucky 911 Services grant funds in an amount which will be specified in the grant applications currently being prepared for submittal, and whereas there is a 10% local match required, which can be in kind or cash. Now therefore be it resolved on this 14th day of March 2023 by Madison County, Kentucky, the judge executive and or his designee is hereby authorized to execute and furnish all required documentation, including memorandums of agreement, as may be required for the furtherance of the above referenced project, and to act as an authorized correspondent for said project.
Motion approved resolution 2023-24, Judge.
Second.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Brian. Any discussion? Do we have any idea, just estimated amount of what this grant would be? Or?
I think it was $150,000 is the total ask.
Okay.
So
Would there be
the 10% match?
Would there be in-kind opportunities there that to make up the 15,000?
So I think it's a technology.
Because the grant will not fund backup equipment.
I have waited a really long time to say that.
Now I'm filling in for Wendy. Much better looking, Wendy. Just kidding. It's a $150,000 ask, but the grant will not fund backup equipment for a backup site, which our 911 does have a backup site. So potentially that equipment could be considered in kind.
Okay. So if it's not, then it would be a 10%, be a $15,000 match from the county.
Yes.
Which could be split through 911 with the two cities because it's a joint.
Yeah, it'll be put into the capital projects line item with the 911 budget. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. No, I just wanted to clarify that. Any questions? Everybody good? All right. Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Master Bacon?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. All right. Let's see. Resolution 2023-25. This is FireWise USA Community Hazard Mitigation Grant Application. Chief, good morning.
Good morning. Resolution 2023-25. A resolution for application and administration of a 2023-2024 Kentucky Division of Forestry, Kentucky FireWise USA Community Hazard Mitigation Grant Funds. Whereas the Kentucky Division of Forestry and Kentucky FireWise USA Community Hazard Mitigation Grant Fund allows units of local government to apply for grant funding to be used to cover the cost of home wildfire risk assessments and installation of 911 signage associated with the goals of the grant. And whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court, Kentucky desires to make an application for these 2023-2024 FireWise USA Community Hazard Mitigation Grant Funds. And whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court wishes to authorize the judge executive and his designee to make applications for these funds, and if the application is successful, to enter into an agreement with the Division of Forestry to administer these grant funds, to execute any documents which are deemed necessary to facilitate and administer the awards, to act as the authorized correspondents for this award, and whereas these grant funds must be expended during the grant period of November the 1st, 2023 to June the 30th, 2024. Whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court is requesting FireWise grant funds in an amount which will be specified in the grant application currently being prepared for submittal, and whereas there is a 20% local match required, which can be an in-kind or cash. Now therefore it be resolved this 14th day of March 2023 by Madison County, Kentucky, the judge executive and or his designee is hereby authorized to execute and furnish all requirement documents, including memorandum of agreements, and may be required for the furtherance of the above reference project, and to act as the authorized correspondent for said project.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Y'all heard resolution 2023-25. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Chief, will you
Cheryl
tell us-
writing all these grants.
Yep. Cheryl and Jill been working closely with all of our team.
Yeah.
Yep. It's good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Will you tell us briefly what this one is actually for?
This is actually a grant. If we do a Firewise community grant, we work through volunteer departments and we do fire assessments on homes. We have to do, I think it's 40% of the county. And it's vegetation growed up close to the home. We advise them what to cut back to make their home more community safe in case of a wildfire. And then once we get 40% of it done, we'll be awarded the grant then to use for whatever purposes we need, whether we want to buy wildland equipment or standard firefighting equipment or whatever we need.
Is this a new grant? Because I don't remember us doing this.
This is the first time we've ever applied for it.
One good thing too is exciting about this too, members of the court, is that, you know, them building relationships with the citizens, you know, and going out and having those conversations. And, yeah.
Good.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. We do have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmiller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Buckin?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Next, resolution 2023-26. This is the Lexington Fayette County Urban Government. I was trying to read the acronym, make sure I got it all right. Madison County Fiscal Court Mutual Aid Agreement. Chief.
Resolution 2023-26, a resolution approving a mutual aid agreement between Madison County Fiscal Court and Lexington Fayette Urban County Government. Whereas Lexington Fayette Urban County Government, herein referred to as the LFUCG, and the Madison County Fiscal Court, herein after referred to as the county, wish to enter into an agreement in order to provide mutual aid and assistance to each other should an emergency arise requiring fire prevention or public safety. And whereas the parties to this agreement recognize the importance of having each other respond in a coordinated and efficient manner to restore the public safety, health, and welfare of either community stricken by an emergency or disaster, regardless of location. And whereas the LFUCG and the county do hereby agree to the terms and conditions set forth in the mutual aid agreement, which is attached here to this resolution. Now therefore it be resolved that the fiscal court does hereby approve to enter into this agreement and authorize the judge executive and or his designee to execute same on behalf of the county.
Thanks, Chief. Resolution 2023-26. Do I have a motion and a second to approve?
Motion to approve resolution 2023-26.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Yes. Is this a renewal or is this the first time?
This is first time far as fire departments wise goes.
Okay. And this has ramifications at least up in the northern side of the county where they have a fire department location in the southern part of their county that they could come down and help us like in some of our subdivisions up in the northern part of the county.
Yes.
And Steve, just as an example of already mutual aid, if you remember a couple years ago when we had that big mulch fire that was out there at Clay's Ferry exit, they're stationed there on, is it Cleveland?
Yeah, Station 18 there at Cleveland.
Is that Cleveland and
Cleveland
25?
Road.
Yeah.
Cleveland
They
25.
actually came down and assisted others fire departments too. I mean, I think there was a fire department from Powell County that came down and
Yeah,
helped.
we had them all the way from Lawrenceburg.
Yeah.
That was there assisting.
Is there any budget impact on this?
Shouldn't be. No more than what we do already. You know, a lot of departments, we don't have mutual aid, but if they call, same as those counties did to us, if we have something, a resource available that we can spare to send, we send it, trying to be a good neighbor, so.
Yeah, I
But
think
we
we were
don't-
already doing it in a sense. It's just now. I
And,
guess
and this
more.
stemmed from the event we had at the river at Clay's Ferry back in November. This was just, got together and decided we need to get something in place.
Yeah, no, this is good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Does this help any of the people on the northern end's ISO rating or anything?
No, this won't change any ISO ratings on that part because they would still be, it's not an automatic aid agreement, so they're not getting an initial call. As soon as we do, it would be, we'd get the call and see we need the help and ask for them to come. But this would be, say, if we got a large structure fire in the southern side of the county and we had all the resources there, we could automatically put them on standby. So if something came in the north, they would get the call as soon as we did and be responding to that.
Thank you.
Should we get the opportunity, Chief, to do this in future years, I'd like for you to just take a look at the materials and supply paragraph in here on what is reimbursed. Because the first part of it says it'll be reimbursed. The second part of it says you won't be reimbursed.
Yeah.
That's a little, I'm not sure, but to get us going, it's good.
Yep. And we can look at that language, Chief, before we sign.
Before we actually sign, we can get that changed if we need to.
Yep, we can look at that. Good conversation. Any more? Hearing none, call the roll.
Master Lockmuller,
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Botkin.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes,
Thank you all.
thank you, Chief. Next resolution, 2023-27. This is Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, MOU. Jill, good morning again.
Good morning. This is a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources and Madison County Fiscal Court to build a boat ramp, boat trailer parking area, courtesy dock, and kayak launch at Will Green Lake. Whereas the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, referred to as KDFWR, and Madison County, Kentucky, referred to as County, wish to enter into a memorandum of understanding for the construction of a boat ramp, boat trailer parking area, courtesy dock, and kayak launch at Will Green Lake, located on Will Green Lake Road in Madison County, Kentucky. And whereas the county is of opinion that this improvement project is in the best interest of the county and in the public interest. And whereas the county shall provide a match of 25% of the total project grant, which is $250,000, to KDFWR and will not exceed $50,000. The match can be provided in a combination of in-kind and cash contributions. Whereas KDFWR and the county do hereby agree to the terms and conditions set forth in the MOU, which is attached hereto this resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the fiscal court does hereby approve to enter into this MOU and authorizes the judge executive and or his designee to execute the same on behalf of the county.
Motion approved resolution 2023-27, Judge.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So just briefly, I want to just start out by thanking Representative Frazier for her work. You know, we've been trying to do something out at Will Green for quite some time, Judge, you know, with the parking lot and different things out there, and have done a lot of work out there in the past on the parking lot, only to see it get washed away into the next flood. But they're going to do boat ramps. You know, we've had complaints for years about the boat ramp. One side of it closest to the water actually has a big hole in it. You back your trailer up in there, and there's been axles broken and all kinds of things out there. And I've talked to a lot of people about that. Folks are excited about this. I'm excited about this. We certainly want to thank everybody involved in that, especially Representative Frazier, because had it not been for her relationships with the folks up there at Frankfurt, this probably wouldn't have gone through.
Absolutely. We're excited to get it started and have worked, our team, Gary, Vanderhoff, and Scott, and Cheryl have all been involved. We've had several meetings already with the Department of Fish and Wildlife about how to do this in the best way. We know this is exciting for the people out there. We do ask for their patience because it does mean that it will be closed for a period of time, which we know is not always popular, but it will be to better the facilities.
Only comment I would make is let's make sure that we publicly make sure people know that it's closed so we won't get those calls.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it doesn't matter if it's closed or not.
Yes.
They still go. Yeah, so. All right, any other comments, questions? All right, we do have a motion and a second on resolution 2023-27. Call the roll.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Botkin.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Master Lockmuller.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. Next, resolution 2023-28. This is the American Battlefield Trust Agreement. You're up again.
I'm still here. A resolution authorizing an agreement to convey 976 Battlefield Memorial Highway to the city of Richmond, subject to the grant of historical conservation easement. Whereas the county of Madison, Kentucky is the owner of 3 parcels of real property at 976 Battlefield Memorial Highway, Richmond, Kentucky, containing approximately 20.89 acres, more or less, and identified as parcels 8, 9, and 10, described more particularly in Deed Book 615, page 702, recorded in the office of Madison County Clerk. And whereas the property holds historical significance by virtue of its connection to the Battle of Richmond, and whereas the city of Richmond has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the county under which ownership and operation of Battlefield Park is transferred to Richmond, and whereas Richmond desires to take ownership of the property in conjunction with its ownership and operation of Battlefield Park and for the use and enjoyment of the citizens of Madison County, and whereas KRS 67.0802 authorizes the transfer of real property to another governmental agency, and whereas the American Battlefield Trust operates to preserve America's historic battlefields and has procured funding to secure a conservation easement to preserve this historical property, and whereas it is the desire of the county, the city of Richmond, and the American Battlefield Trust that the property be transferred to the city of Richmond upon payment to the county of $500,000 on behalf of the American Battlefield Trust to secure the conservation easement for the purposes of preserving this historical property. Now therefore be it resolved that the fiscal court does hereby approve the proposed agreement and authorizes the judge executive and or his designee to execute the same on behalf of the county.
Thank you, Jill. You've heard
Yeah, motion approved resolution 2023-28, Judge.
Second.
Thank you all. Any discussion?
So again, just let me start out by thanking, Judge, I want to thank you first because this is we're sitting here today doing this, but this is a project that's been in works for years. And there's been a lot of people behind the scenes that's done a lot of work on this. You took the initiative to start this years ago. Jill, we appreciate you. Colleen Cheney was here at that point in time, helped us. And for years we've talked about trying to do a lot of things out there at the battlefield, only to find out that we weren't able to for various different reasons. I want to thank the city of Richmond and also the American Battlefield Trust for stepping up and seeing the value in that property and preserving it for the community for future generations. And so there's a lot of good work. Thank you for everybody that had a hand in this.
Yep. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for the kind words.
I'd like to go back a little bit further, because before the Battlefield Park, the county wasn't even in the park business. We didn't even have any parks. And it was, this was citizen-led. I mean, that house, that Mount Pleasant house out there, it was gonna come up for auction, and I tell you, 2 guys that came to the court was Bob Moody and Charles Hay. And they said they're gonna auction this property right here, and it's a historic site, and we'd hate to see it go private. And, they worked with the judge back then, and Bob Moody mortgaged his property to buy that house, and we worked to get grants to reimburse Bob, and then that 300 acres came up for sale that was part of the battlefield, and there was a $2.1 million grant that was given for that, and just a lot of grants that were given, were sought, and we got those walking trails out there, and that was kind of the start of parks in the county. Then we've grown since then. You had the White Hole Park and Union City, Carswell, but
was the golf course after that, Billy Ray?
And the golf course come in there real close too. The golf course, it had gone under.
Yeah.
But that Palmer House, which is a very historic house, is a part of the golf course too. So, right. And then there was a sewer plant there on that golf course, and that kind of helped justify that that acquisition.
Golf course 2004.
But anyway, it was citizen led, and I wanted to just give credit to Bob Moody and Charles Hay and Dr. Murphy, many others. I mean, there's been a lot of effort made to bring that history to life, which hadn't been done. So, and I'm glad the city of Richmond is willing to take that over.
And it doesn't change anything. I mean, it can only make it better, right?
Yeah, I think it'll make it better.
Yeah.
I think it's an improvement.
Yeah. Good conversation. Good discussion. Anyone else?
And thank you, Brooke, for your legal, this was a difficult legal one to navigate a little bit and how to do this properly so that we followed all the, I know you've spent a lot of time doing that, so thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Hearing none, call the roll.
Master, excuse me, Master Buchan?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller? Yes. Master Hughes?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. All right. Let's see. Chief, you are up next with Resolution 2023-29. This is disposition of the 11-18 GHZ gigahertz Exalt microwave to Estill County Fiscal Court. Good luck on this one.
Resolution 2023-29, a resolution approving disposition of the 11-18 gigahertz Exalt microwave from Madison County Fiscal Court to Estill County Fiscal Court. Whereas the 11-18 gigahertz Exalt microwave aged public communications, and whereas in 2014, Madison County EMA CSEP installed a digital microwave in Estill County, Kentucky, with a link to Madison County, Kentucky, for the purpose of sharing services, improving communications, and fostering collaborations. And whereas the Madison County Fiscal Court wishes to disposition the 11-18 gigahertz Exalt microwave to the Estill County Fiscal Court, and whereas Estill County EMA CSEP currently maintains and utilizes the microwave for their public safety communications infrastructure, and this disposition is in the best interest of both counties. Now therefore it be resolved that the Fiscal Court does hereby approve this resolution, authorize the judge executive and/or his designee to execute the same on behalf of the county.
Appreciate you, Chief. Resolution 2023-29.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-29.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Is this equipment, Chief, that's boxed up and ready to go, or stuff that's still in use currently?
It's actually on their tower.
Yeah.
It's a communication link from Madison to Estill County on their tower.
Good.
And there, I guess it's safe to say this, there's gonna be a lot of this coming up in the next few months, because this is all CSEP stuff and we need to get it off our books.
We ultimately, at the end of the day, once we start doing closeout, all this it's gotta
Go
be
somewhere.
documented. It's gotta go somewhere. You gotta have all this disposition, because there's gonna be audits, and if we don't have all this done, then we're gonna be responsible for this. So you will see a lot of this going on. Yep. And this is good partnerships. It's good relationships. You know, this allows for conversation of potential regional discussions of services that we can provide and share, cost share, and so it's all good. You know, there's a lot of good conversation being had. So, yep. Anybody else? All right, hearing none, call the roll.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Buchan?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next is Resolution 2023-30. It's Madison County Treasurer in Training. Glenna.
Hello.
Bittersweet right now, isn't it?
It is bittersweet. A resolution for the Madison County Fiscal Court to approve Sarah Stewart as the Madison County Treasurer in Training. Whereas due to the upcoming retirement of Glenna Smith, Madison County Treasurer, on April 28, 2023, and the Madison County Fiscal Court wishes to approve Sarah Stewart as Treasurer in Training. And whereas Sarah Stewart will begin the position of Treasurer in Training on March 22, 2023, and continue as such through April 30, 2023. Sarah will continue the full responsibilities of Madison County Treasurer on May 1, 2023. Now therefore be it resolved that the Fiscal Court does hereby approve this resolution and authorizes the Judge Executive and/or his designee to execute same on behalf of the county.
Thank you, Glenna. I'd say it's more sweet than bitter, though.
Yes, it is.
I'd say it is.
Yeah. Resolution 2023-30. Do I have a motion and a second?
And Sarah's with us here today, if you will stand up. And I'm very comfortable turning over the reins to Sarah. I think she's going to do a great job.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-30.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? I will say, just in discussion, I'm very excited. We've had several meetings, sit downs, just conversations with Sarah. Glenna's been a part of that, Jill, And so we're very excited to bring her on board and look forward to the future. I think we'll be in really good hands.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, hearing none, call the roll.
Master Lockmuller,
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Buckin.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes, you can breathe now, Sarah. Everything's good. Yeah. Thank you, court members. Next is personnel. Morgan.
Morning.
Good morning.
I would just like to propose the approval of all personnel changes and hires that are included within your court packets.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Will you kind of give an update on where we're at? Some of these hires, I think, are for golf course.
Yeah, so we had one hire for the golf course. We're still down about 3 on our grounds crew for our seasonal employees. We do have a returner who is in the process, so hopefully we'll have them on the next court agenda. But we still need a few more people added to that team out there. So if you know anyone interested in those positions, please let me know. Other than that, we have a couple of departments that are also down in employment right now. We have a couple positions open on the website too. So any questions about those, you're welcome to send people my way.
Thank you. So I need a motion. Well, we do have a motion in a second, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So we're good. Any more discussion? All right, hearing none, call the roll.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Buckin.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Master Lockmuller.
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. Thank you, Morgan. Appreciate it. Next, we want to have some discussion this morning. We have Scott Shepherd with us, our road supervisor, to have a little gravel road maintenance discussion. So, Scott? Sure.
A lot of numbers. Basically, I'm coming to court today and asking for guidance. We still have a lot of gravel roads in this county, and the 8 years I've been here, it seems like we're not making progress. These roads, we go out and fix them. We have a major rainstorm, everything we've done is destroyed. Basically, we just keep repetitively doing the same thing, and I don't feel like that's the best interest of taxpayers' money. I'm really put you some numbers together here, and it shows you what we actually spent through this fiscal year so far on gravel roads. We've already invested $61,000.
And that's just material, right?
That's just material. So the next major storm, we've wasted $61,000. I've kind of broke it down and showed you the labor cost, and on your second page it shows you the cost of labor and materials per each road. So it's kind of divided out to give you an example of what we're spending on certain roads. Some of these roads we've been called this year, in this fiscal year, as many as 13 times. So the people are demanding more of a service than I can provide with the budget that I'm given. But I'm not sure we're going down the right path to be able to complete what we're trying to do with cost savings and cutting our expenditures.
So Scott, make sure I understand this report. So the 61,000 is the total that we've spent in materials on these roads since 2016.
That's correct.
Is that right? And so then you break it down on the second page that for this year, this fiscal year, so far with materials and labor, we've spent approximately 24,000.
And this is only for a small sampling of the roads. We have approximately 60 roads in Madison County that are still gravel.
Okay.
This is just a small sample of the ones we've been called to the most this year.
Okay.
To give you an idea of what it's costing us. I'm not really asking for anything other than guidance.
And let me say something else. I want to make this clear. So, and you show the taxes collected on these roadways.
That is correct. The taxes that I have figured are on the structures that are on the gravel parts of these roads. Some of these roads are blacktop and then partially gravel. But I broke the tax structure down of what we're earning taxes on for the partials that are on the gravel parts of the road. And as you can see, it cost well exceeds
Yeah.
what we're collecting.
And technically, I mean, property taxes is not the revenue stream for roads, you know. Property taxes is for those mandated services that the state legislature says we shall provide, right? So for road revenues, use your fuels tax, right, money. And so, but yes, you're right. I mean, you're not even really, we do use some of our other revenues to help offset our road budget, but wow. All
And
right.
I thought, well, everybody's answer is, well, let's gravel them, or let's blacktop them. Let's blacktop the gravel roads. So on the back page, I run you analysis of several of the roads to see what it would cost just in the asphalt to get them up to county standards. And that does not include any gravel, pre-gravel before the blacktop goes down, or any infrastructure. And, you know, just on the few roads that I have shown as an example, we're over $2 million. And the payout on that just doesn't add up. It just, you know, it would take so many years to gain that money back, and then you would be in the situation where you would need to be redoing them. The problem with these gravel roads, they were not engineered. These roads are hundreds of years old that's been used, and they're not made to last like an engineered highway would be. They don't have the proper drainage. They don't have the proper infrastructure. They don't have the proper culverts. Most of them are not even wide enough to get some of our equipment on. So therefore, you know, it's hard for us. I hear a lot of constituents say, well, if you, instead of just coming down and putting gravel on it, if you would make it wider, if you would install some culverts. The road was never engineered for a road to be there. So the engineering cost to go in and actually fix the road is impossible at this point. You couldn't come up with enough money to make it a sustainable road. A lot of these roads are at creek level. That meaning the creek is here and the road bed may be an inch higher than the water flow. So every time a flood comes, the road becomes the creek. And there's absolutely no way to maintain that.
Couple questions, Scott.
Yes.
So if we don't maintain them, what happens?
Well, we have the option. We can go the route that we discontinue maintenance on them, and then it becomes the property owners on that road. We would keep the easement, so the county would still own the easement. Nobody would be landlocked or nobody would lose access to their property, but it would become their responsibility to maintain that road instead of the county.
Second question would be, this is obviously not the first time that this has ever come up within a county in Kentucky. Do we know what other counties have had to do over the longevity of this situation where you've had roads that are utilized by one or two individuals or three or four individuals or whatever the number might be? Is there a precedent what other counties have had to do or done?
I cannot speak accurately on that because I have not talked to other counties. I know in this county, historically, through court records, and we have many of them, that, you know, we have discontinued sections of road or discontinued roads, or either stop maintenance on a road. And that's been historically in our system how we've done it. But I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that
It's not always been popular
Right.
politically, you
Right.
know.
No, the second option, and I want to mention this, is you can abandon a road. And when you abandon a road, if Judge can correct me if I'm wrong, but that is when you deed that roadway back to the property owners. So you can either,
And typically that only happens when, you know, you only maybe have, you know, one or two people that have access to that roadway, and then when you split it, it goes back to them evenly. You can't abandon a road because you can't landlock somebody. And the other thing is, I mean, there's statute out there that roadways are supposed to have a public purpose. I mean, you know, and there's some of these roads that, I know it's just one person. I mean, it's no more than a drive. It's a driveway, you know, because for whatever reason things evolved over the years, right? It used to go farther than what it goes now, and so I think Hayden Heights maybe is
There's no it's just a farm entrance.
it's just a farm
Yeah,
entrance.
there's no structures, and I actually
What was the
broke
one that
down.
had a house? There's one road down there in the Valley View area that I can't remember the name of it.
Bethel Branch has one house on it. Wheeler Branch has one house on it. There's a lot of them, and I actually broke down on that back second to last page the number of structures and the number of parcels that are accessed from that roadway with the help of IT department yesterday.
Yep. Okay.
I know over the years, gravel roads have been paved based on a need, as needed basis. If there is some development that happens and houses get built, you can justify blacktopping some roads, but looks to me like you can't afford to blacktop many of these roads that you've got on this list right here. I mean, just ain't. One of them are $50 a year in property tax and $250,000 to blacktop.
It'd take you 100 years to pay for it to get your return back, and then it would be needed to be redone in 15 to 20 years.
I mean, one I think is a good example, and this one we've tried. We had, I mean, I think you talk about Reagan's Lane.
Is that yours?
No, it's not. It's not. This is down Posey, but we had some folks that bought some land all the way down at the river on Reagan's Lane. Reagan's Lane, what, a mile?
Yeah, it's
A mile and a half or something, mile and a quarter. They built a place down there. I mean, built a house, lived down there, and the road looked like what it looked like.
You couldn't access it with a four-wheel drive vehicle, and then they went down and built a $300,000 investment, and now they're.
And then they expect us to come down there every time it rains and gravel it with no more.
And I see this
revenue.
becoming a more serious problem because, as you all know, land is decreasing. So people are going further out to buy places because it's less expensive. So then they get this idea, well, we're going to buy it and then we're going to go build on it. Well, that's great, but the people don't understand that the road that's there is the road they have. We can't improve the road for one residence.
And you gotta be careful about touching it in the first place.
Absolutely.
You gotta be careful about that.
Is there any way for us to regulate or that in the future, if that's gonna be, I mean, with the potential with the potential growth that could happen in the north side, or the whole county for that matter, with Fayette County not having much property left, is there any way we as a county should think about how we deal with this in the future, so that somebody buys 50 acres and wants to put a house on it, that they already know that we're not going to come in there and take care of the road?
Well, I think you got to stop maintenance on them. I mean.
Yeah, that's the only.
I understand, but what if you're not doing it up front now?
But if you don't, what I'm saying though is, if we don't act now and stop maintenance on some of these roads, then somebody is going to come in and buy it, and then we're maintaining that road.
No, I understand that, Judge. I'm talking about though, when somebody does come in and buy it, that they already know that we're not going to come in there and maintain it. Is there such a thing that we should consider as a fiscal court?
Well, I think is what I'm saying is, if you stop maintenance on it now, then that'll stop maintenance on it. We will not be making improvements on it now, so that when they do come in and buy, didn't the people at Reagan's Lane come in and talk to us, and we told them it wouldn't be a
They talked
good
to the
idea?
previous road administrator, and I overheard the conversation. I was actually in the room, but they were told, not to build there because we were not going to maintain the road.
Okay.
And then the next thing we know, there's $200,000 or $300,000 investment at the end of that road, and I think Mr. Bakken got involved, and they contacted him, and put a lot of heat on me, and then we go spend $5,000-$6,000 to get a road in there, and then the first rain comes and it's in as bad a shape now as it was when I done it 2 years ago.
Do they normally come, does people normally come to the planning and zoning or anybody to see what's going on with the property prior to purchasing it, or do they just purchase it?
And
And
this is something that also probably we need guidance on, but our planning and zoning, if it's a county road, they'll give them a permit because they say it's in their regs to do so.
Well, that's kind of what I was trying to bring up. Shouldn't we head that off in the front end, that yes, we can permit that, but there's no road maintenance?
I think by what Judge is saying, if we discontinue maintenance on them, then it won't matter
Won't matter.
what happens because we will show it as not a maintained road.
Okay.
It'll still be a public access. I mean, it'll be a right-of-way, but we just won't be doing the maintenance on them.
Yeah, we got a few developments that have gravel roads that, you know, the developers, and they're not county roads, they're, you know, they're resident maintained gravel roads. And initially, it sounded like a pretty good plan, but over time, you know, if you got a mile or two of gravel road and it starts developing potholes, and the residents have to take care of that. I mean, there's a few, you know.
Forest Lane is a prime example.
Yeah.
Forest Lane, we've been contacted multiple times wanting us to take the road in. Well, yeah, we will consider taking the road in, but you have to bring it up to county standards.
Yeah.
Well, the county standards cost what's on that back page, and individuals, 15 individuals living on a gravel road is not gonna split $250,000.
Right. So, you know, we've made exceptions for, like, agricultural exemptions for people to divide up a farm into 10-acre tracts, and they can put a gravel road through there. But in the long run, it's gonna create headaches for everyone, us and property owners too.
I didn't enjoy bringing this to the court today, I'll be honest. This is not a great subject, but this is gonna keep getting worse, and if we don't do something about it, then it's gonna make my job more difficult, and it's gonna make the heat on the magistrates more difficult, because ultimately that's who I have to tell them to call, because I really don't have the money to fix the roads.
So I think what Scott's asking here for right now is maybe some guidance. So could y'all give us some guidance? And I say us, me some guidance, and maybe what you all would like to see to maybe bring something back to court.
Yeah, I want you to recommend what you think we should support.
Would you like for me to bring you back a recommended list of what
Yeah.
I think we should discontinue?
Yeah.
I can do that.
Should we do that, Judge, or should we have a work session, or?
Well, we could. I mean, we could. I'm just kind of thinking out loud right now. You know, from a planning and zoning standpoint, we could maybe put together a little working group, Scott, internally, and then work on maybe a recommendation that includes some of that planning and zoning. I'm trying to sit here and think about how planning and zoning works. You got to have road frontage. You got to have road frontage to do a minor plat or to do a major plat. I mean, of a county road. So you can't. Well, I'm not going to sit here and think about it right now, right in the middle of fiscal court. But we'll let's work on.
I think
some
your
things.
idea of thinking about it and putting a planning mechanism together for the county, so we can take a look at.
I think that today was more or less see how open the fiscal court was with having this discussion, and to show you all factual information about what this is costing us over time, and how that there's no return on investment in taking rock down and putting it on these roads that continue to wash out. And if we do any more than that, then the cost of improving that roadway is even greater, which is even farther away from any kind of return on what we're getting in revenues. Does that make sense?
I'll say, you know, but you said this is just a sample, and this $25,000 year to date, that's just a sample. That's
Yes.
not the, because if that was all it was, I said, well, that's hardly anything in your total budget.
Exactly.
But anyway, I just, you know the roads, you know them, because you know which ones are.
The other thing, it's hard to budget. I mean, because all this is depending on
How many rains you
how many floods and how much weather. I mean, you can see there since 2016. I mean, it's anywhere from, looks like the cheapest 3,600 and the highest is 14,000. You know, it's hard for us to budget when you got that roller coaster as well. So
I guess also, Billy Rudd, your point, I guess this is, the reason this is so eye-opening to me is we as a team are doing something that's never been done in this county, and IT has come up with a program, and I'm doing a full county road assessment right now, and I'm giving a grade to every road, and I'm recording every pothole, I'm recording every slip, I'm recording everything. So with me being out for the last month and a half driving these roads,
That where you been?
yes, it's eye-opening to see what is going on and what monies we're spending without good cause. I hope to have that done around the 1st of May, and I will go over my findings with all of you magistrates, and then I'll make you recommendations of what I think we need to spend our blacktop money on.
Yeah. Good.
And you also found there's a lot of dogs out in the county
There's
too.
a lot of dogs. You better not get out of your truck.
So, I just want to talk about this just a little bit, Judge. And
Sure.
I know this is a complex issue, and we're not going to solve this today. But 5 of these roads that are on here, Sled Branch, Rosstown Road, Burton Lane, Reagan Lane, Wheeler Branch, are roads in the 4th District. There's also 15 other gravel roads in the 4th District that are not listed on here.
How many more?
15. There's 20 total. I don't want to know that because I've got the list that we was given back years ago, and I counted them this morning just simply because I wanted to know. A lot of these roads, as you were saying earlier, came from cow paths. Of course, that's how most of the roads in our county today got where they are today. They were a cow path that turned into a horse path, that turned into a horse and buggy, that turned into gravel, that turned into blacktop. That's how the roads came about. That's it. Our issue is, and when I look at this, is that, you know, for me personally, if you've got land and there's a road there, you ought to have access to that land. Now, how we pay for that, I don't know. That's a tough question. The other issue with this, and just looking at the 5 roads that are here that are 4th District roads, is unfortunately it's a money issue. It's plain and simple money issue. Everything across the board, everything, the gravel, the blacktop, the fuel, everything to maintain them, the equipment, the prices have all risen, and our taxes have not risen. Now, I'm not saying, let's make sure we get this on the record. Tom Bodkin is saying we're not going to have a tax increase that I'm going to sit here and support. I'm not going to say that. But at the same time, the fact of the matter is we don't have enough revenue to support this. We're just on our blacktop roads, we're on about a 26 to 30 year cycle for our blacktop roads. And I know that we've got to put some money. I've said for years, ever since I've been here, let's take X amount of dollars a year, whatever that is, and let's do one of these roads, not try to do them all at one time. Let's do one road a year and try to do the next one, then try to do the next one, try to do the next one on these main ones, especially the ones down at Poozy, to try to keep those roads up.
Especially the ones in the 4th District.
Especially the ones in the 4th District. I mean, of course, you know, I'd like to be like the 1st District, not have any gravel roads. I mean, we've heard that for years. I don't know if that's the truth or not, but that's what we heard for years. But the thing about it is that when you get, it's roughly, give or take a little bit, I'm sure it's more now, but between $55,000 and $60,000 to blacktop 1 mile, 20 feet wide, 1 inch thick. When you're talking about that, and 1 inch thick, I'll just tell you, unfortunately, is a waste of money, and we did it for years, but it's a waste of money simply because in about 6 or 7 years, that road's deteriorating already. Yeah. So you can't get nowhere near the cycle to start the road list all over again. Yeah. I wish I had the answer for this. I don't. I know that, and nobody wants to hear this, and we've all got a million things that we can do, but I'm just going to throw this out, and you guys do whatever you want to with it. Right now, we have the opportunity of a lifetime in Madison County. We've got $10 million that was given to us by the federal government. We can do anything we want to with. We can use it on infrastructure. We can use it on whatever. Broadband, you name it. We can use it on it.
But even saying that, Mr. Bockham, wouldn't you much rather use that $10 million to catch up on our asphalt that's already previously down than going out and serving 22 people?
Well, I'm certainly not going to argue with that. And that's the thing. It's hard to look at these figures and say, well, I want to put, to your example, it's hard to say that I want to spend $95,000 on Reagan Lane when I can't blacktop a subdivision that 200 people live in because it's so large that it takes multi-years to do that.
That's correct.
Well,
And Deer Creek, right off of Barnes Mill, is one of those prime examples.
And,
It's taken multi-years, and I've been blacktopping over there for 2 years, I'm still not finished.
and Reagan's Lane, Tom, is actually 251,000 because 95,000 is just the surface cost. With that being the gravel, you got to have base and surface.
It's
So,
ugly. I mean, that's
yeah.
it's ugly. I don't want to cut people off from access to their land, but at the same point in time, how do we've got to use the money that we have to service the amount that we can.
Well, we've
another
got to be
thing-
good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I mean, that's what we're elected to do, and we've got to ultimately sometimes follow the law. And is that road there that we're maintaining for a public purpose? And I ask myself that a lot. Is it a public purpose, or is it really more of a person's right of way and access to their land?
And I can show you pictures of 90% of the gravel roads that are in this county, and all of them, at the beginning or the end, say posted no trespassing.
I would like to see what these roads look like before the late 60s. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've spent about 3 or 4 hours one day down in the historical documents that Kenny maintains. Thank you for doing that, Kenny. Searching through old records to see when roads were taken in to do, and a lot of those roads down there in Poozy in the late 60s, the fiscal court then approved to have gravel put on those roads. Before then, they didn't do that. The county didn't do that. This big palm tree go out that far?
Well, I think it's, and I've got some constituents, Bethel and some others, and I hate to see it, but I think there's situations where people go in and buy farms, and they have access by a road that is questionable in the beginning, and I feel for them, but I think the judge put it the best I can put it, and that is, we're responsible for spending the dollars in this county to the best benefit of our constituents, no matter what district they're in, for the betterment of the citizens in the county. And I know my constituent wouldn't be happy, but it's not spending $250,000 down Bethel Road for 3 properties that are farms. And I feel for the man that's called me on it, and I'll have a discussion with him, but that's just a tough call to spend that much money down there to give access, and I've been down the road. Once we do it, it's still going to be hell to maintain.
Well, and the other part too is that we have developers. I mean, we're open for business, right, in Madison County, and our regs state that if you want to do a subdivision on a farm, and the road to get to that farm is not up to county standards, that developer has to spend money to bring it up to county standards. So we'll use Concord Road as an example. It's not 20 feet wide. Well, to do a subdivision on a county road, Concord Road would have to be 20 foot wide. So wherever that developer would want to buy a farm and try to develop a subdivision, he would have to bring Concord Road up to 20 feet, right? He would have to make that improvement, and so it'd be hard to go to Bethel Branch and make a developer that is bringing in revenue and growth to our community. We make that person upgrade our county road, but go and upgrade Bethel Branch for 3 or 4 farms, to your point. I mean, it doesn't seem to be real fair,
And I understand the citizens' frustrations, but I guess that's why we're on this fiscal court, is to make decisions for all of our citizenry.
Yep.
Some of it's not going to be fun.
That rock, Scott. Thank you
Absolutely.
for turning over that rock.
I've been looking forward to it.
All right, good work, Scott.
Thank
Appreciate it. Hey, we'll get together and we'll get together and strategize about maybe who we want on our little task force to work on this, and bring back a recommendation to the fiscal court. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for your work on it. Appreciate it. All right, thank you for your time, members of the court. Appreciate it. It's a good discussion. Next, the judge's report. I do have a few announcements. Do want to talk about our Madison opioid response and empowerment program. Everybody's heard of MORE. We will have sessions for a community conversation on stigma and opioid use disorder. This will be on March 27th, 28th, 29th. Anyone is welcome to attend. Contact Kentucky River Foothills at 859-624-2046 for registration information. So it is a really powerful group of community members, different entities, associations, nonprofits, groups that have actually come together to work together in combating this drug epidemic. So anybody that would like to be a part of that, please sign up and register. The 2023 Empty Bowls Project will be Friday, March the 31st at First Baptist Church in Richmond. Serving will begin at 11 a.m. and continue until 4 p.m. With to-go orders only after 3 p.m. There is a minimum donation of $15, and proceeds benefit God's Outreach, Madison County Food Bank, New Liberty Family Shelter, and Food Bank Home, I think that's supposed to say Home Meals Delivery, and the Salvation Army of Madison County. Contact Laura Danley at 859-200-9361 for more information. Hospice Care Plus is hosting a night of comedy featuring the guy Joe Deuce at EKU's Posey Theater. This almost sounds like a joke if somebody's written down here. But it's on March 31st at 7 p.m. Visit www.hospicecareplus.org to purchase your tickets. Our Madison County parks are also getting ready for warm weather. You may reserve any of our pavilions for your birthday party or family get-together by contacting the Battlefield Golf Course at 624-8005. Now, if anybody, obviously with the change in Battlefield, you can still call and we'll put them in contact with whoever they might need to work with to reserve that. And then last but not least, road work on I-75 from exit 83 to Rock Castle County line is set to begin this spring. Please be mindful of delays and other road projects across Madison County. So I think there's a resurfacing project that's going to be going from Duncannon to the Rock Castle Madison County line on I-75. If you notice, they've already started putting up some big caution barrels. So if you don't want to maybe get caught in traffic or any kind of slowing you down, you might detour around that on 25. That is my report. Comments from magistrates?
Judge, I don't have a whole lot. Glenn, I just want to thank you for your service. I know that time's not here yet, but you definitely have left a mark here, and we appreciate your service. So in April the 3rd and 7th, we're going to have a trash hopper in the Bobtown area. It's just an announcement for people that want to bring trash and kind of clean up. I know spring cleaning is here on us. Got a lot of stuff. And Judge, other than that, I'm just glad to be here.
Yep, glad you're here, buddy.
I would concur with Glenna, and good luck to you, and congratulations, and thank you for all the years of service. Other thing, Judge, was I wanted to bring up just briefly, I've reached out internally, but there seems to be a situation at 301 Jacks Creek Pike where there's an individual in a residential neighborhood that's running a business out of there, and it's the concern by the constituents in the neighborhood. I think it's Fountain Brook or whatever it is.
Fountain Park.
Fountain Park, thank you. Is that coming out of there on Jacks Creek Pike is getting to be very difficult, and they're concerned about possibly an accident happening or something. So
okay.
I've reached out and emailed Vernon on that, so I'm just waiting for a response back. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. I'll follow up too on that. I've not heard of this one, so appreciate you. Let me know. Billy Wright.
I want to put in another plug for the county clerk that you go online and renew your license as long as your insurance has not been interrupted and it's on time, and it's very simple. You don't have to go into the office, and it's very convenient, and I just want to plug that once again.
Thank you. Thanks, Billy Ray. Tom.
It's too early to start patting you on the back, Glenna, so I'm not going to do that.
Me too. I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it.
I hope that you've told Ms. Stewart there that we'd like to have her on speed dial 24/7, 365. She has probably the most important job.
Hey, on the record, Tom, for 90 days when she retires, we can't talk to her. 90 days. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot, Judge. I want to thank Steve over there today. Unless I missed something, I only found $64,000 worth of cost to house our prisoners in other counties. So I know that Brooke, you all have been working to move prisoners out, and in some cases move them to places before they get into the detention center. And so thank you for everybody that's working hard to do that. It's showing, and especially in this month where we generally average anywhere from $100,000 to $120,000 a month. So thank you for everybody that's making efforts to reduce the population over there. Let's see, Judge, the only thing that I wanted to address was I called the state this morning. I had gotten several calls about the Peytontown Road Bridge that was closed already. I went out yesterday and met a gentleman out there and looked at it, and I mean, it's impassable. The state's come through and torn the road up, and they're going to put a new bridge in there when they get to the point of it. The thing that I think that they've made a mistake on is that they closed that road. Brandon told me this morning that the state's plan is that it might be the end of April before that road is repaired. And I don't think enough thought was put into that, closing that road for the half a dozen or so folks that live there when you look at it in the terms of what happens should they have a fire out there. Now emergency vehicles have got to go an additional 12 miles around to get to it. You know, what happens if they need an ambulance out there, something like that. You know, they've just made a mistake on closing that road too early. It's not going to change the fact, and so I'm just saying this to let people know that I have called and addressed it with the state. It's not going to change. It's probably going to be the end of April before they get that bridge put in. So outside of that, if anyone needs me, they can reach me at 200-9765.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Brooke, you good?
I don't have anything, Judge.
Kenny? No, sir. You good? Sheriff?
No, sir, thank you.
Steve? Everybody good? All right, appreciate everybody being here. Comments from department heads. Any department heads need to address the court today? Seeing none. Comments from the audience. We don't have too many left. Jill, do you have
There were a couple of comments.
Do you have a Facebook comment?
A couple of comments
Okay.
on Facebook having to do with the gravel road discussion. Can the public get a copy of the gravel roads that has had $61,000 spent since 2016? Obviously, Scott and I will follow up with this citizen on that. Also ask, what about the county roads that has and is still being used for over 30 years? So I think part of the same conversation. So we'll just follow up with that citizen. So hopefully if she's still watching, she'll know that we'll be expecting follow up.
I think something else that would be good too to maybe share is that I think it'd be good to put together the actual KRSs that go along. I mean, those are state laws that are set by the legislature and were set, I mean, for years. And those are the things we have to follow as a county government. And so, you know, giving some context to it of what laws are and kind of what those guidelines are. And it's not always just, well, we don't want to maintain a road, you know, as a fiscal court. You know, there's reasons behind it of following the law. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all that we had.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next, I need a motion and a second to pay the claims and approve the transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Master Buchan?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes, our next court meeting will be March the 28th, 2023. That'll be in Richmond at the Richmond City Hall. There on Main Street at 9:30 in the morning. Again, that'll be March 28th, 2023 back at Richmond City Hall at 9:30 a.m. I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Lockmuller?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Buchan?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes.